Before Starbucks, I think in the mid-'70s, people were drinking really bad coffee. They were drinking instant coffee, Maxwell House U-Bahn, and perking it at home, and it wasn't very good. When I came here for the first time, had never been in a Starbucks store. Walked into this very store, and by the way, we have changed nothing through the years. This is the original store as is. And they handed me a cup of coffee made this way. Now this is a cup of Sumatra, which is Indonesian coffee. This is how I tasted my first cup of coffee. And I just knew from that moment on that I was home. You have to understand, Starbucks had 3 stores in '82, but the core business was just selling pounds of ground and roasted coffee for home use. A year after I joined the company, I went to Italy for the first time. First of all, you can't walk through any major city or town in Italy without running into a coffee bar and seeing the sense of community and the romance and theater around espresso. It just made me realize that Starbucks perhaps was not in the right part of the coffee business, that the real business and the opportunity was the integration of the beverage to creating a destination and a sense of community in the store. People think I'm the founder of Starbucks, but I was an employee of Starbucks when they had 4 stores.
Yes.
I was sent to Italy to do a trip for Starbucks and came back with this feeling that the business that Starbucks was in was the wrong business. What I wanted to bring back was the daily ritual and the sense of community and the idea that we could build this third place between home and work in America. I was out of my mind. Every
Had you gone in for coffee?
Yeah, like anyone else.
Yeah.
But I walked in and saw this symphony of activity and the romance and the theater of coffee.
Meaning people gathered around.
And also coffee being at the center of conversation, how social it was, and the sense of community. And that is what spoke to me, and that's what I wanted to bring back.
I think great entrepreneurs must have the curiosity to kind of metaphorically see around the corner. What's coming? What can I anticipate that other people don't see? And then you must have the courage of your convictions to execute the strategy. Every decision is different, and certain people have different insight and different skills. And in the book, I write about some things that I decided on my own that were wrong and that were, catastrophic in some ways. I don't always have the right decision. Now, when we brought in a new team, this is a world-class group of people who have skills and insight well beyond me. The decisions we're making today are more skewed towards consensus than they were in the past because of the trust of the team. However, I will make the final decision, and
you reserve that right.
And also, I will take the responsibility if that decision is wrong.
You can't build any kind of organization if you're not going to surround yourself with people who have experience and skill base beyond your own, only as if those people have like-minded values. When you discover perhaps that these people do not have those values, then you have to have a very quick conversation. And if they don't demonstrate that kind of behavior, not everyone deserves to be on the team.
All of us as entrepreneurs believe that we can do everything and we know better. And the truth is we can't do everything and we don't know best all the time. I think when I look back on the history of how we built the company, you have to invest ahead of the growth curve. And that means you've got to hire people who have the skill base and experience beyond the size of the business. And you have to invest in the infrastructure in order to keep the trains on time and also to anticipate the growth of the company. When I say that the growth of Starbucks and the success of Starbucks covered up mistakes, we were not investing in the back side of the company. We were not investing in supply chain. We were not investing in technology. We were not investing in manufacturing. We were just accelerating the growth of the company. And I think when we started rebuilding the team, we then realized that we needed competency well beyond the size of Starbucks, and we needed the kind of capability that we had never had before. Now, the issue at hand, though, is you can't attract and retain those people if you don't give them the resources and the allocation. And I think going out and hiring a guy like Peter Gibbons, who now came to Starbucks and is running supply chains, we had to give him the budget that we never had before and investing in areas. And I think too much of the time sometimes is focused on the customer and not on the back side of the business. Now, The reason we've been able to succeed in the last year and a half is because we've made a much deeper investment in the things that the customer doesn't see, and as a result of that, our work is being received much better.
And growth should not be a strategy. Growth is an outcome. And I think if you look at the social impact of the company and the things that we've done, just recently, what we've done in terms of getting our partners registered to vote, what we're doing in terms of food donations back to the community where people are being left behind. Obviously, what we've tried to do and raise a conversation of racism in America, all these things, I think, ladder up to the fact that the growth of the company has enabled us to do things that are not only unorthodox, but really unparalleled when you look at the value that we've created for 300,000 people who work for the company, the value for our shareholders, and how we've given back to the communities we serve. We're growing as fast as we possibly can in Asia and specifically in China because the wind is at our back, and we understand that. In Europe, given the macroeconomic challenges around the Eurozone and all the issues involved in that, we've decided to grow in a different way. But we're still growing there. We're going to use and leverage licensing and JV partners as opposed to company-owned stores where there's less risk in terms of our own capital, but our commitment to growth and building market share and building the leader is the same. When a customer goes into a Starbucks store in any small town in America, or in this case, a country that might be a little bit smaller, I don't think they're conscious of whether or not that town doesn't have the infrastructure, the scalability, or the long-term opportunities that perhaps New York City has or China in terms of growth and development. So we have to view every store on its own merit, and as a result of that, we can't in any way not fund and provide the resources and the tools for those markets. If that's the case, we should never have opened there, and we should go home. I think our commitment to resourcing those markets and providing tools for our people are the same whether we're in China or Cyprus. Well, I think if any consumer brand believes that they can create the local relevance sitting in a white tower somewhere in the US and dictate the ways in which consumers are going to react all over the world, I think it's a collision course with time. And so the issue that we have to understand and execute against is we have to create the balance between the Starbucks experience that customers all over the world expect and desire, integrated with a healthy dose of local relevancy in which we are demonstrating respect to the local customer. What I have found, and I think what has been perhaps the biggest surprise of my life, is that the culture and values of Starbucks is as relevant and as desirable in Amman, Jordan, and Singapore and Malaysia as it is in Seattle, Washington, because people generally, whether you are an employee of a company or a customer, I think we all want the same kinds of things, and they're universal. You want to be respected, you want to be valued, and you want to be treated in a way that is dignified. And I think those are universal tenets. Business is a team sport. It's not about one person. And I think I learned that on the sports field. And specifically what I mean is success is best when it's shared. You have to be willing, I think, to share the spotlight with others. And if you look at the entire history of our company, what we've tried to do essentially is build a company that would balance profitability with a social conscience, and that started with our people. And what we've tried to do, I think, more than anything else, is recognize that you can't exceed the expectations of your customers as an enterprise unless you exceed the expectations of your people first. People know that Starbucks has created a business plan over the years that was based on the balance of profit and social impact. First company to give equity in the form of stock options, comprehensive health insurance to every employee. 2 years ago, free college tuition. In China, we just gave housing allowance to our employees, our partners who are traveling long distances. Not every decision, in my view, is economic. I think the price of admission is financial performance, but I don't wake up every day saying, how are we going to make more money? How are we going to ring the register? I wake up every day saying, how can we really create a deep sense of loyalty with our people and our customers based on our values, our guiding principles. I love Starbucks Coffee Company almost as much as I love my family. There isn't anything I would not do to defend the company, to preserve it, and to try and enhance it. And I want people around me who have that same level of commitment. Now, I also link it to something else, which is the word humanity, because I think that somehow along the way, maybe because of the pressure of Wall Street or other shareholders, that we've come to believe that the sole responsibility of business is to make a profit. Now, I certainly believe that there is a deep fiduciary responsibility for every business to make a profit. But I think it's a pretty shallow goal if that is your singular focus and that is all that you stand for. And I also believe that you can't attract and retain great people if that's all you're in business to do. So the love and humanity is also about creating a value system in which the company stands for something in addition to making money, doing great things for the people that it employs and the communities it serves.
You've got to hire people who have a skill base and experience beyond the size of the business. And you have to invest in the infrastructure in order to keep the trains on time and also to anticipate the growth of the company. When I say that the growth of Starbucks and the success of Starbucks covered up mistakes, we were not investing in the back side of the company. We were not investing in supply chain. We were not investing in technology. We were not investing in manufacturing. We were just accelerating the growth of the company. There's been such a seismic change to consumer behavior. And as a result of that, any business, small or large or consumer-based or not, that is going to continue to embrace the status quo, in my view, is in deep trouble. Now, so the question is, how do you, in a sense, create the balance between preserving your core business, but at the same time pushing for relevant innovation? And I think for us, I never imagined that people would be walking in with a smartphone or a handheld computer or whatever they were going to be doing and spending hours at Starbucks as their office. We certainly never got a rent check. But once we saw that, the question was, could we create something that potentially could enhance the experience? So when we went free Wi-Fi, we just didn't create free Wi-Fi. What we created was a Starbucks digital network that is proprietary to us, that provides unique proprietary content and premium services. In the last 90 days, we've introduced mobile payment at Starbucks. And in less than 90 days, Starbucks is the #1 company in America in terms of revenue and transactions in mobile payment. So I think, again, going back to the fact that you've got to be curious and you really need to understand, where is technology moving? How is the consumer embracing it? And then asking yourself, what can we do as an enterprise to be highly relevant to the seismic change in consumer behavior? And that also has to do with the fact that everyone must understand the discipline and the capability within your organization with regard to social and digital media, and you must participate in a way, because without that, traditional marketing, traditional advertising is going to be significantly subordinated by what is going on, and this is a life of its own that's not coming back. And social and digital media is here to stay, and every company in America, for that matter the world, must have that discipline in place.
Starbucks Coffee Company went public in 1992. And from 1992 to 2006, we were on a magical carpet ride in which everything we did turned to gold. But in 2007, the music stopped. We had lost sight of our shared purpose and our guiding principles, in which growth and success began to cover up mistakes, and a disease set into Starbucks. That disease, hubris. We lost our way, and believe it or not, we almost lost the entire company.
During this cataclysmic period, I was reminded what it means to love something and the responsibility that goes with it, as well as an understanding that leadership and moral courage is not a passive act. My partners and I took it personally, and we transformed the entire company.
When I came back, I did a couple of things that, not that they were unprecedented, but they were unorthodox. One was we'd stopped reporting monthly comps. But in the first 3 months of me returning, I did something that probably had never been done before, and that is we closed every store for retraining.
Right.
And that turned out to be a PR bonanza, but it wasn't designed for that. What it was an admission of guilt. We had to stand up to our people and our customers and say, you know what, over the years, there's been a dilution of quality. And to continue like this is a mistake. So we literally closed every store. The cost was millions of dollars. I came under tremendous criticism, and the competition really smelt blood, and they went after us. But it was, again, one of those galvanizing moments of demonstrating to our people and the marketplace that this was not going to stand anymore, that in fact we were going to significantly increase the qualitative measures, and that turned out to be another major turning point.
Every business, every organization, even every family must be true to its values and reason for being. Our core purpose and reason for being, then and now, has always been to achieve the fragile balance between profit and humanity. Today, the equity of the Starbucks brand has never been stronger, and our track record of creating shareholder value and social impact over the last 25 years has virtually been unparalleled. We have built one of the most respected and recognized brands in the world, with the view that today the rules of engagement for business and business leaders have changed, that we must do more for our people and the communities we serve. Last year, Starbucks Coffee Company opened our first store in South Africa in Johannesburg. I had never been to South Africa before, did not know what to expect, certainly could not be prepared for the level of poverty and what I saw in the townships throughout the city. We opened 2 stores, and lines were out the door in anticipation of Starbucks coming to the market. But before we opened the stores, I gathered the 50 young people who would grace the green apron and put on the Starbucks apron and represent the company. I sat with them for a few hours and wanted to hear each one of their personal stories. And as they were sharing their stories with me, despite their poverty, their plight in life, there was so much joy and gratitude in their hearts. But what I learned was 2 things. One, all 50 of these young people had never had a job before. They were all unemployed for their entire life. And you should see the self-esteem and the sense of security as they were getting ready for their first job. But the second lesson was, as they were going around the room and talking to me about their story, I kept hearing an African word I had never heard before. A word that Nelson Mandela used all the time. The word is Ubuntu. U-B-U-N-T-U, Ubuntu. And finally, I got up the courage and I asked, what does this word mean that you keep using? And they couldn't wait to share it with me. And in unison, they said, Howard, Ubuntu means I am because of you. I am because of you. Please remember that. ASU is because of you. You are because of ASU. We are because of each other. Ubuntu! Ubuntu! Ubuntu!